Her father's cruel experiment on her was the only reason she was born. This poor 6-year-old girl wanted a normal childhood, but the only reason she suffered was for her father's terrible experiments. He wanted to turn her into a superhuman and create the only girl in the world. Everyone was left shocked when they found out what he did to her. However, she managed to escape from his cruel behavior. At the age of 34 and in excellent financial standing, Louis Didier met a miner who was having difficulty providing for his family. The miner's youngest child, Janine, who was only 6 years old, was the one whom Louis had advised that the miner entrust to him. After that, he sent her to a boarding school to receive an education under the condition that her family would never see her again. Didier's ultimate goal for Janine was that when she was an adult, she would have a kid that was as blonde as her and would be raised apart from any of the outside world's polluting influences. On November 23, 1957, almost 22 years after Louis took on Janine, she had given birth to a blonde baby girl. 3 years later, Louis bought a house in the northern region of France, close to Dunkirk and Lille. He withdrew there so that the couple could simply devote themselves to carrying out his project of turning their child into this superhuman being. That child was Maud Julien. Julian's father believed that anything was possible and that the mind was capable of overcoming any challenge. However, to be able to achieve this, one must undergo extensive training away from the impurities of this corrupt world. Even after he has left this world, Didier would advise Julien not to leave the house. According to reports, Didier thought his daughter had been selected to be his protector. This is why he sought to indoctrinate her and simply make her withstand torment by making her participate in several cruel experiments. And this is why her father, who was even an alcoholic and reputedly belonged to a mysterious Freemasonry lodge that believed in the occult, subjected Julien to nearly 18 years of controlling and manipulative behavior. Julien was even imprisoned for the night once a month in a rat-infested cellar. This happened as a result of her father forcing her to reflect on the end of life. There were even bells sewn into her sweater that would work as an alarm if she moved. Didier even forced her to drink whiskey just before making her walk in a straight line, which led to the liver damage that Julien lives with to this day. According to her father, the majority of these chores are intended to get Julien ready for impending problems that would apparently arise at a time when he would need to go undercover or escape. If that was not all, Didier even made Maud hold on to the electric fence that they had, and she wasn't allowed to let go until she could hold it without flinching. Maud would be prevented from making eye contact with her parents for almost 6 weeks if she ever showed any emotion. According to Didier, his father beat him since he raised the family in a pretty underprivileged environment. But after the war, he joined the resistance in Lille, France, and eventually became the owner of the biggest Peugeot dealership in the area. Didier eventually rose to a position of authority within the mysterious Freemasons Club. Whatever the psychological consequences of life and the oaths of a Mason might have been, Didier had emerged with a demented ideology all his own. As Julien got older, she started disobeying her father's regulations, such as using 2 squares of toilet paper rather than just one and occasionally sneaking out of her bedroom at night to take quick strolls across the house and garden. When none of these were discovered, her confidence began to grow. But it was actually her musical talent that offered her an escape. When Maud was 16, a new music teacher going by the name of Monsieur Moline had arrived. Being understanding and sympathetic, he even convinced Maud's father to allow her to go to his house for lessons before allowing her to work in his music store, where she later met Richard. When Maud was only 18, her father agreed to let her marry Richard on the condition that she get a divorce from him within 6 months and go back to caring for him, but she didn't. Maud had only one child with Richard and another child from a subsequent relationship. Maud's escape from her personal hell was quite gradual and undramatic. She continued to visit her parents each week despite the discomfort that never went away and the constant pain of regret at leaving them. She visited her father for the last time in 1979, just before he passed away. They merely sat in quiet as her mother continued to wait for him in an outhouse that he had constructed. And the last time Maud saw her mother was about 10 years ago, and she still freezes every time they meet. Maud is now a child trauma specialist in psychotherapy. She left her childhood home about 40 years ago, and for a very long period, she was even unable to talk about her history with anyone. Maud was able to complete her adolescence with the help of her husband, Mark, and the only woman to ever touch her tenderly was his mother. Maud cried because the simple act of putting an arm around her shoulder made her feel so alive.